You want to know what currently the best Boon DPSs are in GW2 PvE? Today we're gonna answer this question in form of a tier list. I did this video on my stream with my chat. Be sure to join us in future streams when we do other discussion and tier lists. But now, enjoy. My tier list is not only about DPS, it's also about usefulness and how easy to play it is and the carry potential. And put all the core classes here because not all core classes, no core class can actually consistently provide boons, alacrity and quickness. So we're talking about classes that can give quickness or alacrity and deal damage. So not all classes can do that. For example, let's go for, we have the core classes already here in the node here, they can't do it. So there are other classes that can't do it. For example, Spellbreaker can't give boons. Then what else do we have? Daredevil, no. DH, no. Holosmith, no. Reaper, no. Soul Beast, no. Vindicator, no. Virtuoso, no. And Weaver, no. So that's it. I think all of those classes can't give any boons. Let's check which classes are useful and can give boons. How would we rate them? So the thing is, Herald is still really good. We will get to this, or we can start with it. Herald is S tier. Offensive support Herald, you can either play Condy or Power DPS. It's insane. It has good damage and amazing boons. It's just really, really good. The consistency, it helps your team with boon uptime because it has boon extension. It's not something that a lot of classes can do. So it's just extending the boons that your allies give. Immense, the usefulness. It's really good. And it's still extremely strong. Renegade on the other hand is for me C tier. You only use that in Fractals because it's really good in Fractals. Maybe it's B tier because of that. Because it has so much use. You deal with the mechanics while the rest of the team does everything else. Renegade in Fractals is good. But everywhere else, I would say Renegade is just not good enough. Because you're giving alacrity, it's quite easy to give, but the rest of it, the kit, is actually not that useful. Or not that useful, it's useful, but it's not there the damage, you know? It's just not crazy strong. Yeah, Spectre. So Spectre is quite good, but it's not crazy good. It's an alacrity support. Alacrity supports are, yeah, just a little bit weaker. That you see with this as well. Yeah, just not that much damage. And it's not that easy to... I mean, it's okay. I think you have some tankiness, you have some nice support for your team. I think it's okay. Those two are fine. I'm not an expert on it because I don't run it permanently, but it's good. When it comes to damage, best quickness option with damage is Deadeye. However, it's not that consistent when you have to spread because your boon uptime is not that, you know, you're really struggling with overcapping. So I would say it's A tier just because the damage is insane. But don't get me wrong, it's quite hard to play that in pucks and stuff because it's not the most user-friendly quickness build. Alacrity Bladezone, that's just a meme at this point. Because Alacrity Bladezone deals quite a lot of damage, but it's not useful to most players because it's really hard to play and the damage is actually not that insane for what it can, you know, bring elsewhere to the table. It's just damage and alacrity. It's not good enough for most builds. Quickness Berserker is actually on the other hand the same like Deadeye. Those two are having high damage and give their boon. So both of them are fine. Just from the damage perspective. Maybe it's also B tier just because it's not the damage. There's 4k difference here. So it's actually quite a lot of big gap there. Then we have Quickness Firebrand. I think this is an A tier build. It is condition based but it has a lot of utility baked into kit. It's quite easy to play, and it's a favorite for people because it has been so strong in the past, and a lot of people actually are Guardian mains, so it's a good build. I would say this build can carry a bad group just because you have so much utility, especially in raids. You can reflect, you can give stability, just really good. And Alacrity Willbender is just bad. It's not forced movement and stuff, it's not good. Yeah, just play a power or condition Willbender and you deal way more damage and bring something else as an Alacrity provider. Alacrity Scourge, in my opinion, still S tier for hard fights. Don't get me wrong, if it's an easy fight, it loses value just because it's not really needed, the barrier and the Condi clans, but on quite hard fights, it's really good. It has so much utility, just like the DPS build, and still gives a lot of alacrity. Also, most of it on range, it's really, really good. Really nice build. Quickness Harbinger is the same as Quickness Deadeye actually. It deals damage, but the utility is not there. So I would put it in A, B tier. Because the damage is lower than Quickness Deadeye and the utility is really low. And you have to know your rotation perfectly and perform it, otherwise you will not cap on quickness because it's just really tight. So that's a B tier build for me. It's good, don't get me wrong. All of the builds that are above B tier and above are really useful and you should use them. But A and S tier are just way more useful for sure. So Quickness Untamed, oh no, that's interesting. So Condi or Power Quickness Untamed are actually really low DPS when it comes to quickness builds. And it's also not that easy, so I would put it in B tier as well. However, it might perform better in some circumstances than a Quickness Harbinger just because it's a little bit easier to upkeep. So there's that. And Alacrity Condi Scourge is just Condi Druid is just not good enough for most people. So I would say C tier. It's not. You don't use it. You know, it's. You would rather use something else than a offensive Druid. It's just not what you would do. Yeah, maybe you're right, Kuroto. I did not play enough of the quickness thing. So maybe it's that you have access to your spirits and that the nature magic helps a lot. Maybe it's true, but I would say it's not the easiest build. That's the problem that I have to be honest. Quickness Data is also not the easiest build, so yeah, maybe let's put it in A then. But I would say it's definitely not S tier because it's just not, the damage is not there, and it has lower damage than a Quickness Herald, and I think Quickness Herald is just really, really good what it can bring to the table. That's what I was saying. So Quickness Herald is lower if you're playing the CC variant. Yes, it has way lower DPS than an Untamed. But you can play either the Greatsword variant, and then it's almost the same DPS. You lose some CC. But at the same time, it also can play condition support. And then it gets really good because it has more DPS than the Untamed and is still providing all the nice things. So it can give all the boons. It can give boon duration increase. And it has nice stability even if you want to use it. So that's why this is an S tier build. It's just really versatile in terms of DPS. Yes, it might be close to the Untamed, but Untamed is not that versatile. That's what I was thinking, you know. Croton, you're right. I think they increased the usefulness of Untamed for sure. And that's why I would put it in A tier. You're right. I think it was worse when you had to really think about all your stuff all the time. Now it's way easier. So that's true. That's why A tier makes sense. But like I said, do you see it often in packs? No, not at all. Because it's quite actually uncommon. Not a lot of people actually use it. That doesn't mean it's a bad build. Don't get me wrong. But it's not that common. Yeah, Scourge is so strong. So we talked about it before in DPS tier list, but even there Scourge was really high, and now DPS boons Scourge is just the same. It's so high. It's so good, you know. It has such a broken kit, you know, by design with the barrier and stuff. No other class can give that much barrier. It's really good. Okay, let's continue. We were talking too much about the other stuff as well. So I don't like Mechanist, especially not the offensive one. The offensive Mechanist is, in my opinion, one of the worst offensive build that you can play. There's a power and an alacrity Mechanist build. The power one is just garbage in the sense that it was once upon a time really easy to play and deal quite a lot of damage, but now it's just really bad. And therefore I would put it in I don't know, the Condi build is better, but it's still, I don't really enjoy it. It's the mech is hard to control. The Condi build is not that easy. Yeah, I would put it here. You can play it, you can make it work. It does its job, but I'm not a mech enjoyer. I have so we have a question here from YouTube. Do you have a favorite build for Scourge? Yes, I have actually on my YouTube channel a build guide about Scourge, and this is my favorite build. So offensive alacrity Scourge, really, really good. I have a build and rotation guide about it. Be sure to check that out if you want to know more about it. So that's the Mechanist, and then I want to talk about Quickness Scrapper. So Quickness Scrapper is, I think, not good. It was good at one point, but now it's not that good anymore. It has lower than average damage and is not that useful. It doesn't have that much utility, you know? So for me, it's like a Harbinger, a Quickness Harbinger with less damage. It has almost 2k less damage and has the same utility, which is almost none. The offensive one, yeah. I'm talking not about the defensive one, I'm talking about the offensive one. So I don't really enjoy it. I think those two offensive engineer builds are actually a little bit worse. I don't really like them. Okay, let's talk about Mesmer and Mirage. So Mirage is just a joke. Alacrity Mirage I would not play. It's really, it's like you deliberately use an elite spec to make your build worse. Because the funny thing is, Mesmer is the only class that has two elite specs that can give alacrity. And Mirage is just the worst one. It's definitely inferior to Chronomancer. Chronomancer is extremely strong. The offensive Chronomancer build is high tier. It is S tier for me. It is harder to play than Scourge and Herald, yes, but you can give quickness or alacrity. Alacrity is the top DPS. Quickness it's not, but it provides a lot of utility if you want to. You can give stability, you can use portal, you can use a lot of CC. Just carry the group with this build. If you know what you're doing, do your rotation right, damage is high, it's insane. I often am top DPS as a quickness Chronomancer or something. It's insane. It's really, really good. I think it's probably, if you understand the game and the mechanics of the fight, probably the best offensive support that you can play. Because it's a power build, you can deal a lot of damage in the burst phases, just amazing. Let's talk about Catalyst. So, Catalyst has amazing damage. But I think it's the same as Deadeye. Maybe it's better than Deadeye, but it's not S tier. Because it has a lot of damage, and nowadays it also has a lot of other boons, but in my opinion it's not as good as the other three here, because you have to think about your rotation. It's quite intensive, you have to do a lot of actions per minute, which is also true for Chronomancer, but the utility that you can bring on a Catalyst is a little bit limited. So I would say really good build. Not S tier though. Close, but not. S tier Tempest. That's it. Tempest, Alacrity Power Tempest, in my opinion, is really good. It's really easy. You can also play Condition, but the power build is actually better. It's really easy to play, and you can quite easily upkeep alacrity, and you deal actually a lot of damage. And that's just all you want from a DPS offensive boon support, you know? A lot of damage, easy to play, some ranged option, power, perfect. It does not have that good boon access as a herald, that is true, but it's still very useful. That's why I really enjoy it. I would leave it at that, I think. Like I said, B tier and C tier, I would say C tier, I'm quite confident that it's like that. But B tier, it's just builds that are not as good as A and S, and therefore in B. It's not like they are bad, but not as good as A and S. I don't know. I think that makes sense. Do you have any comments? Do you think that makes sense? Do you think I coped on something or I missed something completely? If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like. If you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.